The textbook says positive.
What? Yeah, they're all listed on here. Right? It lists all the ones that have multiple. Why do it?
You don't necessarily have to count.
Yeah, you don't put it in the name if there's only one, it doesn't go in. Yeah. No.
I didn't.
I'll get you. Okay, once you have your questions done, rotate. Give your questions to somebody, anyone you want, really, and we'll answer them. That's okay.
Yeah, she's so Olivia.
No, you didn't. Great, wrong.
I don't know.
Okay, guys. Quickly, eyes up here. Hey, just sorry, give me a second. First things first. How many people need a couple more minutes? Okay, that's fine. You'll get them. But quickly, why do we do this exercise? Sure practice. Why else?
The naming, you can do the naming rule and the rule, then you can compare your answers between classmates.
Yeah, let me ask you this. And you don't have to call anyone out by name. That's good. That's true. Did anyone find a mistake in a question, or the question didn't have enough information, or the question was written in a way that you couldn't answer it? Or was everyone's question so far good? Well, that's pretty good. Because what amazes me, one of the things I always do before I give a test out, I write my own test. Guys, so I want your attention just a minute more. And you'd be amazed how often, when you go to write your own test, how many questions you get to and you go, oh, that's a mistake. Like, you find mistakes in your own questions. I put a question on there that couldn't be answered, or I didn't give enough information. When I write your unit test, and I always do this with this course, I'll have a bunch of these days where I kind of have you write your own questions. All of the naming questions on your test will come from these activities that I've collected. I collected your homework a couple days ago. I'm going to collect this now. Every single naming question, every single find the formula question on your test will come from content that you've created. And that's done on purpose. But I think the act of making questions requires us to have a little bit deeper understanding than just answering questions. So I think this is beneficial. So take a couple minutes more, and when you've got the questions answered, come on up and bring it up. I'll see if I can find the staplers, because those also haven't arrived yet. But I'd like the question sheets and your answer sheets here, please, when you're done. Yeah, you can bring the other persons up. That's fine.
The other person got it wrong.
Well, don't worry. That's okay. I'll sort through. Like, you think the other person's answer sheet was wrong?
No, my answer to her questions, I want to know if I got them right or wrong.
Oh, you're gonna need. I need both together. So find the person's answer sheet and see if you got it right. How'd we do? I'm gonna go with the very high tech method here. Thank you.
You're going wrong.
That's okay. Getting things wrong is part of the game. Thank you. Nice. It's always neat to see, like, will kids give each other easy questions, or will they like dig deep into the periodic table for things nobody's heard of?
I said the examples.
Did you? You know what? Just fold it one.
Oh, okay.
Why don't you just do
Lab books, stapler. I don't own anything. Nothing in this one. Thank you. Oh, these are. Do you have the answer sheet for? Would you mind putting them with your answer sheet? Thank you.
Do you want us to write the answers to our questions?
I don't really care for the time being, no. No, I'm not marking you on this. I'm just curious.
That's a very nice way.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
He was up by, like, he went, like, he hit,
Like
like,
right here,
3 in a row, or,
even if
like, hit, like, 2 in a row, and then.
You don't. Yeah, you don't have to. Oh, okay. No, I wouldn't. For now, I wouldn't mark you wrong if you put a one there. But one's.
Like I did, and then
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't yet mark that wrong, but it's unnecessary. It's just like to the exponent. We don't write it, right? Because then we'd have to put a little one on top of every single number. Right. So ones we just let up on, but I don't. You're not. It's not wrong.
I just thought that if it wasn't the same number, then you weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah. No, you can still not write the ones.
Is this the assignment package? I
Yes.
forgot to grab it yesterday.
Yeah, you can grab it right there.
I just have to write one more thing.
Oh, perfect.
And I have homework from the day I was away for field class. Do you want that now or at the end of class?
I'll take it at the end of class.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Again, both of them, right?
Please, yeah.
I read my math.
Thank you very much. Okay. Eyes up here, please. We're going to take a note today, and I want it to be a quick one, if I can. If I can. So, we're going to talk today about the other kind of bonding. No, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that either. We're not going to talk about the 5 loves. Do you know that in English, we have one word for love? And we think we're doing better than the French because, of course, we have separate words for like and love, right? Whereas in French, they just have one blanket word, which is, of course, am, right? But we have 2. We have like and love. But do you know that in the ancient Greek language, they had 5 different words for love? And they are, oh God, I should remember this. Eros, which is the romantic love. Agape, which is the love of brotherhood and fellowship. I can't remember, which is neither here nor there because this isn't a Greek language class. But anyway, they had much more precise use of these words. So for example, when I say that I love chemistry, I would use a different word than when I said I love my children, because those aren't the same type of love. And really, that's probably true. So, chemistry has yet to talk back to me. So draw your own conclusions. Now, God, there's so many of you. It's just like teaching to like a sea of faces. Anyway, if I can have your attention, what is covalent bonding? Yeah. Not necessarily gases, though we'll talk about gases, but the key point of what he said, it's when they share. What are they sharing? Electrons. Electrons. Good, okay. Good. Yeah, no, that was good. Guys, I want this note to go quickly, and it can't if I have to like interrupt a million little side conversations every 3 seconds. And obviously that number is hyperbolic. But if I'm constantly interrupting side conversations, for example, while I'm making the comment about not having side conversations, it drags the whole process out. But it doesn't just drag the whole process out. It makes for a disjoint experience. And there's a lot of people in this room. But as we kind of talk about concepts, it's easier if I can talk about a concept continuously and where that's the whole point of conversation without having to have like all the stop talking about baseball, stop talking about whatever moments. Yeah, as the case may be. So in covalent bonding, we're talking about a bond where, and then I have to like flicker the lights and go, what happens? And then, so let's just not. So a bond where electrons are shared. In an ionic bond, what actually forms the bond between two things? Yeah. No, go for it, please. Good, yeah, that's exactly right. They take and they give electrons. And when they do that, when they take and give electrons, what happens to those atoms? They become good. So that's exactly right, guys. So now what actually causes these things to be stuck together at that point? Yeah, because negative charges attract themselves to positive charges, so they'll attract. A covalent bond functions differently, because is there any charge involved? No, because they're not gaining or losing electrons. They are sharing electrons. Good. So who can give me an example of something that is covalently bonded? Come on. Take your minds back to grade 10 chemistry. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. When we talked about ionic compounds, I said, what do these things almost always look like? Do you remember that? We said they go in these arrangements where, say, there's 2 of one for every 3 of the other, and they pack together. And I said ionic compounds, just about always, they're very boring, and they usually look like what? Yeah, somebody said. Yeah, we get these white crystalline solids. They're very boring. Good. And ionic compounds almost universally are like that. So can you think of things that aren't like that? Sure. Water, let's go with water. Water is a great example. Okay. What is the chemical equation of water? H2O. H2O, meaning what?
2 hydrogen and oxygen.
Good. So let's look at how this works. Let's draw a Lewis diagram. If I were to put oxygen here, how many electrons does oxygen have in its valence shell? To whomever said 6, that's right. How did you find that out? Yeah, you counted to what group it's in, right? Yeah. Good. So there we go. There's our happy little oxygen. Now, he's very happy. What? I mean, no, but we draw this as a Lewis diagram. Each dot, of course, represents a valence electron. And then we said it's H2O. So we have a hydrogen over here, and we have a hydrogen over here. How many electrons does each hydrogen have in its valence? Just 1. Good. Now, how many electrons does hydrogen need to have a full shell? Which shell is it in? What period on the periodic table is it? Period 1. And how many electrons fit in the first shell? Just 2. So how many more does hydrogen need? 1 more. So where is it going to get it? Oxygen. But it's not going to take it from oxygen. What rather are they going to do? Yeah, they're going to share them, which is very, very mature. And of course, the same thing happens over here. Now, I want to make a note. These two electrons now orbit both atoms. And we call it a shared pair of electrons. Or we also call it a bond, a molecular bond, or you will sometimes see the term covalent bond. These are the three terms. They all mean the same thing. All three of those phrases mean the same thing. Okay, this I'm hoping is familiar. That feels comfortably familiar to everybody, yes? Okay, now, quickly, what types of compounds, or what types of atoms rather, can engage in covalent bonding? Yeah. But not just two of them, between nonmetals. Metals do not share electrons. Metals give electrons, but they don't share them. Metals do not form covalent bonds. Now, there's two different kind of thoughts I want to take away from this today. The first is this. Because they share electrons to form bonds, how many bonds, in other words, how many pairs can fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and astatine make? All the ones in group 17. How many bonds are they going to be able to make? Yeah, all the ones in group 17 or group 7b, whatever they prefer to call it. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, astatine. How many bonds will they be able to make? Yeah, why one? You're right. Why is he right? Why one? Because they only need one more electron. So what they need to do is find something else that only needs one electron, and they can share, and between them, they'll form a bond. What about oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium, and polonium? Everything in group 16 or group 6b. 2. And again, why 2? Because they need 2 more electrons. Will they ever be able to make 3 bonds? No. Will they ever be able to make just 1 bond? No, because they still wouldn't have an outer shell. So they have to make 2 bonds. What about nitrogen, phosphorus, astatine? How many can they make? 3, because they need 3 electrons. What about carbon and silicon? How many can they make? Yeah, well, I heard it. 4. Good. Does everyone follow that? The number of bonds it can make depends on how many electrons it needs to gain an outer valence shell. And we call that its carrying capacity. And really quickly, we know that carbon and silicon can make 4. What can make 3 again? Nitrogen, phosphorus, Great. What ones can make 2? Oxygen, sulfur, selenium? Yeah. Oh. And tellurium typically, right? And what ones can make 1? Chlorine. Yeah. Yeah, good. So that's how many bonds these things can make. It's also how many bonds they do and must make. It's how many they can, it's how many they do, it's how many they must. So if you have carbon, how many bonds does it have to form? Has to form 4. If you have nitrogen, it has to form 3 bonds. Good. So really quickly, just a couple more examples. Carbon can form 4 bonds like this, right? Now, does it matter what it bonds to? Could I put another carbon here? Sure. The only thing is that carbon would also have to make 4 bonds. Does that make sense? Could I put another carbon on there? Is there anything stopping me from putting another carbon next to that? No. Could I keep going if I wanted to? Each of your chromosomes is a single molecule. I want you to think about this. Your DNA, each strand of DNA that forms a single chromosome in your body is one single molecule. It's continuous. It is continuously connected. And if you stretched out the DNA in one of your cells, how long would it be? Does anyone remember this from grade 10? You must have talked about it. You got 2 meters of DNA in each cell. And you've got, as we said, you've got more cells in your pinky finger than there are grains of, more atoms actually, but you've got more cells in your body than we can count. Hundreds of trillions. Yeah, of course. And that's a continuous single molecule, your DNA. So each one of them is like 40 centimeters long, a single molecule. It's huge because with covalent bonds, is there any limit to how we can put them together? No, none at all. So we're going to put an example up here. We can put all kinds of different combinations together. All right, these things can have any shape. They can have any shape you'd like, as long as the carrying capacity is obeyed. And when I say the carrying capacity is obeyed, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? What's the carrying capacity again? Yeah, it's the number of bonds. In other words, how many bonds does fluorine always make? 1. How many bonds does phosphorus rather always make? 3. How many bonds does silicon always make? 4. Has to. Good. Now, what about this? Okay, 2 atoms can form a bond, but they can actually form 2 bonds between the same atom, or even 3 bonds between the same atom. I want you to show me what O2 looks like. What's O2? It's oxygen gas. And obviously it is 2 oxygen atoms. I want you to draw for me a Lewis diagram, all right, the dot diagram, the electron dot diagram, to show how O2 forms. Show me how we get oxygen gas. Yeah, the only thing you would have thought was electrons were double. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now when you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, eyes up here if I may. Shh. Eyes up here if I may. So, oxygen has how many electrons in its outer shell? Sure, so our first oxygen will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm just going to put both of these here for convenience. 5, 6 electrons there. And then this oxygen will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And how do they form a bond? They form a bond by sharing pairs of electrons. So this pair of electrons will be shared, such that both of those electrons now orbit both atoms. And that does the same with this pair. And now, if you count electrons for, let's use some different colors here. If we count electrons for this guy, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because the shared electrons belong to both of them. Can you see that? So it now has 8. And is that the right number? Yeah, it's a happy camper. And what about for the other? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It also has 8. Does that make sense? So it can share 2 pairs of electrons between it. But did I have to go through the trouble of drawing all that, or can I think about it as a question of carrying capacity? I have oxygen here and oxygen here. How many bonds does oxygen have to make? 2. So how many bonds does this oxygen have to make? How many bonds does this oxygen have to make? And if I do that, they are both making 2 bonds. Yes. Yep. We call this what? When it makes two bonds, we call it a? They are covalent bonds, and if it's making two of them, we call it a double bond. Nice simple word. This is a double bond. And that's when one atom is making two bonds to the same atom. All right, and another example of something that looks like that is carbon dioxide. How many bonds does carbon have to? Yes. Yeah, you guys can throw it. How many bonds does carbon have to make? Has to make 4. How many bonds does oxygen have to make? So how can we make this work? How can we make this work so that every the carbon is making 4 bonds and every oxygen is making 2?
Oxygen plus carbon and then.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Does that make sense? If we look at this, the structure works as long as carbon is making 4 bonds, and it is, and each oxygen has to make 2 bonds. And they are. Okay, how do we name these? Yeah, we use the number prefixes. Okay, and the number prefixes are 1 is mono, 2 is di, 3 is tri, 4 is five is 6 is hexa, 7 is hepta, 8 is something like that, 9 is nona, and 10 is deca. Sorry. Okay, so for example, who remembers the rules? What would we call what would we call this? SO2. Yeah. Sulfur dioxide. Good. Why not monosulfur? Good. Mono is only used if it is the second one in the name, which is, by the way, a stupid rule, but there it is. So this would be sulfur dioxide. What would this be? SO. Yeah. What would this be? Fair enough. What would its name be according to this system? Nope. Are the 2 oxygens?
Okay, so it'd be
Yeah. Dihydrogen. It doesn't sound good, does it? You can see why they named it water. Dihydrogen monoxide. Good. Oh, sorry, it's fine. Sorry about that. Yep. Yeah, so here's what I'm going to tell you. You use these prefixes if the bond is covalent. Do you ever use these prefixes if it's ionic? Good. In this course, we will overwhelmingly be dealing with ionic compounds. It'll be pretty rare that we use these. We will use them, but really quickly, if you see a prefix, it must be covalent, which you also know because if it's two what kind of compounds make covalent bonds? Good, two nonmetals. That's the only time you use the prefixes. So when we go back, and this is, by the way, guys, this is what everyone always does. Now that we've covered this again, every time they make an ionic compound, now all of a sudden it's monosodium monochloride. We only use the prefixes for covalent compounds. And even this, the reason I don't spend a lot of time on this is because this naming system's essentially unused, because next year you'll learn a really long, complicated naming system for covalent stuff. It only goes on the second one. And again, this won't be a focus. Yep. Yes. Okay. And with that, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of homework. Your homework today is okay. Yeah, so I would like you to place this in a specific, I would like you to either, you can do one of two things. One of two things. You can send your answer to me in a shared Google Doc or in a shared OneDrive document if you want. Or you can, I've set up a OneNote for everyone. You can go into your OneNote and just type your answer in there. And that's kind of a nice convenient place because you can drag pictures in, you can do whatever, and you don't have to share it with me or send it with it or do anything. If you just go online to the OneNote class thing and answer it in your space, like my stuff's always found where it says content library, but there's a little thing too that says like Alana Lane with an arrow. You can click that and put your answer there. I don't want it on paper. I want it, you can email it to me, you can share a document with me, or you can put on there. The simple reason being I'm not going to be here tomorrow and I want to read them. Yes. I did. I did. So I can show it to you after if you're interested. So guys, send this to me. We're gonna talk about this a little bit moving forward, but it's important. And if you see one of your peers who's at football, let me know. I want you, and the answer is you have to exactly understand what those terms mean. All right? I will feel satisfied with your answer, but you have to explain to me what that means. Don't cut and paste from Yahoo Answers or Wikipedia or something. That's not what I want to see. I'll give you a 0 on it. What I want to see is you explaining it to me in your own understanding. Yes? As long as it needs to be for you to show me, doesn't have to be long enough for you to show me that you know what you're talking about. I haven't set a due date, a hard and fast one yet, because I want you to take your time with it. I think it would be reasonable to have it to me early next week. But it's more important to me that you take your time and really address everything I've said. And frankly, I'm going to need a few days before I can go back to reading those papers because I'm a little sick of them, not going to lie. Yes?
The papers you gave us yesterday that you said Friday or Monday, you want them Monday?
Monday's fine. Yeah, I won't be here tomorrow. So I will never know. Yeah. And you'll notice the last question on that paper, by the way, relates to this. I will leave instructions with whoever's my supply teacher to take this description up, but there's no guarantee it will be somebody who's comfortable with chemistry. Likely it won't be somebody who's comfortable with chemistry. So by the way, on your page, if you're trying to answer this and you are reading the textbook and reading online and you go, God, I really don't understand that, then tell me that. There's credit for that. Tell me what you do understand. Tell me what's got you confused. And then I can respond to what you've written and say, thing is this, whatever. Does that make sense? So I'm more interested in you saying, geez, I've read the Wikipedia entry, I read the entries, I've read the textbook, I think I get this, I don't get this. That's a much better answer than cutting and pasting your Wikipedia entry in and then changing a bunch of words so I can't Google it and find it. You know what I mean? Honesty is better. Yeah. I can start get reading. You got a few minutes.
Would you like? Where? No.
Yeah, the reason you didn't take the one with the name on it. Names on them. But that's okay. Just you got it. That one's fine. Just kind of highlight that. I'm gonna check it when you give it to me and put your name on it. But when I check, I'll make sure I check against that answer sheet. And obviously, your name on it. Yeah. Hey. Oh, and yeah, guys. If anyone doesn't yet have this week's assignment package, it's right here. Please get it. Yes, sir.
I was trying to get into the.
Okay. Do you know what it said? Do you know what it said?
They're saying. I was kind of struggling to work. Good.
So this will be water. And then if it asks you for the when you go to the meeting, exactly. Ron, you're reading. Good time. Yes. Okay. Like I'm talking to like lots of practice. And in part, I'm trying to get we can spend 3 days. Did you find that I'm saying you guys should know that? Tell me. Like, you look at it, you have so like, if I'm saying, you guys should know. When you change it, Because the window Chromebooks are new, and so we use that for the then does that make sense? So you can go out with that now. That's our library. Okay, guys, I will see you. Have a wonderful weekend. Be kind to one another. I will see all of you all day. Well, it's Friday. It's like my Friday. Only tomorrow I have to go to an unending series of meetings. So it's like Fridays if Fridays were awful. Oh, yes. It was either 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. Let me double check it, and I will tell you the exact number.
Oh, it was a pass. That's all.
You definitely passed. You got this one. Oh, for God's sakes, man. Pardon me. But it just won't ever just work.
This is why I'm anti-tech.
There you go. I'm working on it. You got 4 out of 5.
What did I get?
5 out of 5.
Okay. So you're not.
What did you get?
Also 5 out of 5. And also 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Good job.
On this one, I know.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be able to make it to Spear.
That's okay. No problem at all. Just catch up with me soon enough. The next time you can, get to a computer and change that password, okay? Tomorrow will be fine. Also, Mr. Montgomery, I was thinking, because you're heading into a technical program, right? Like you're college bound? Like that's the goal? Or like trade school bound, right?
Yeah.
Great. So what I was thinking, great, yeah, the like the local brotherhood, whatever. Great. So what I was thinking, that's kind of what you're headed. I'd like to build a technical skills component for this, and then you can make arrangements like early in the day or later, right? Can you do it a little later? Okay. I thought we could build a technical skills portion into your mark, and what it would do, I would cut it out of like the test and exam section. The test and exams could be worth a little less, and what I had to do is come with me because I need help. And when I'm setting up the labs and stuff like that, you can come in the back and help to set up chemicals, do missions, it's fun stuff. It's interesting. Yeah. It's a bit more hands-on. Yeah. And it would give me some help that I really need. Because I asked for a free tutor and maybe can get me one. Okay. So that would actually be a huge help to me. And it would give you a chance to, get an area that's a bit more hands-on and you get harder from that. It'll kind of come out for a while. Would that be cool? Yeah, that's okay. Let's do that. Actually. Pero you're very well dressed. I do not get well. You have a lovely speaking voice. I have an unpleasant speaking voice. No, not today. That's good. You're good natured. I'm generally not pleasant. Talk about you behind your back. I mean, don't talk about you behind your back. Thank you. I'm sorry. I left my keys because I'm a little. How you doing? There's someone in this room that Miss Cosby would define as trustworthy, would you say?
Oh, yeah.
You volunteer?
Wait, what?
I see somebody say, you're a perfect choice.
All
Could you
right.
take Miss Cosby to keys back?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
guys.
talk to Mr. Rankin.
Yeah, you do what you gotta do. Okay, good afternoon. Sorry. Obviously, I'm not Miss Green, as I'm sure you can notice. I apologize. A number of you have been stuck with me a good number of times in the last few days, and I apologize for your poor luck, but that's how it goes. Today, Ms. Green has left for you a student exploration activity, a gizmo on cell division. Does everybody know his or her e-learning login for that? You do it. Do you do it through D2L now? Is that true? Okay. So I'm going to quickly do attendance, and then I'll hand these out, and you can get to work. Excuse me, Aiden.
Yes.
Ethan. Heather. Heather. What's wrong with me? Victoria. Jonathan. Justin. Not at football. Good to know. Thank you. Faith. Dana. Austin. Okay, let's not hit. We don't hit. Brad Hall. Not here. Leah. Riley. Haley. Jeremy. Lily. Kira. Yeah, Sarah. Sophia. Lauren. Right, and I sent her there. James. Great. Olivia. Ben. Mason. Sarah. Sydney. Alyssa. And Sydney. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, come on, Johnny, get him. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Johnny said
Do you want some science exploration? The solar probe. Just gonna slip that one.
Johnny lost his mind.
I have. Okay,
What are we doing?
So we're doing a gizmo.
Oh, gizmo. So much fun.
Are you being serious? Not sure.
In between.
Okay, guys, really quickly, and then I'll shut up. Ms. Green mentioned that this may well take more than one period. She said to just let her know rather, how well you guys were working, and to let you know that sort of if the impression is that you worked well and still need more time, you'll get it in class today. Versus sort of if it's schmozzly in here, I have no reason to anticipate you won't work well. Which is to say, if you aren't able to finish, you'll probably have a bit more time in class tomorrow. But I mean, maybe you'll be able to finish. I don't know. It seems to be a lot of writing.
Biggest gizmo I've ever had.
Seems to be a lot going on.
Look, and the color too.
Looked at me and I was like,
Well,
You need like